My name is Teresa Micheletti, and this site is called Take What Rings True. So, the whole idea is I share spiritual thoughts, and you take what rings true and let the rest just drop away. Today, I'm going to talk about what can you do when you're overwhelmed with life's drama. And the main reason I'm talking about this today is because I was overwhelmed with life's drama this week. So, some possible symptoms when you're in that situation, you might become impatient. You might be angry. You might be sad. You can't think straight. You can't think of your next step. Your hands might shake. Your body might shake. You might be close to tears, or you may be in tears. And when those things happen, often you can't go to the next step. You just can't get there. You don't know what to do next. Sometimes you can't even put a thought together. So I've talked before about code blue or whatever you want to call it, where you decide what tools you want every day, and you just have a simple phrase that you say that enacts all of those things. So the spiritual lights you want to be calm, to have your emotion and intellect be in balance and cemented, whatever it is you want for the day, you can think of putting that down on a list and then assign it a phrase. So when you are in a situation like life's drama and everything falls apart, you can just say code blue or whatever your phrase is. And then all those things are enacted. So since we're on earth and we're here to experience, then every day we need to decide what we want to have enacted for that day and those experiences that we're going to have that day. So we've been cut off from the other side. It's called the veil. There's like a wall that goes up, and we don't remember our past lives. We don't remember the experiences we've had before. We don't remember how smart we are and all the spiritual tools that we know and use. So we gather those along the way. My mentor, Francine, called them the jewels we gather along the way. So, if you don't have your code blue or whatever phrase it is enacted, then you also need to think about what can you do when you're in that situation. The first thing I like to do if I know I'm going to go into a dramatic situation is I call or contact a friend and express what's going on. They can think more clearly than I can, and I can ask them to pray for me. For in this case, I was asking for calmness for me and for everyone involved. And since it was hard to do clear thinking, then you could ask for me, I was asking for strength, fortitude, patience, but mainly just to be calm so I could think through what needed to be next. So the least you can do is stop and take a breath. When you breathe, it helps bring oxygen to your brain, and then hopefully you can think better. Whatever feeling or emotion is running through you, think about okay, what is that emotion? What is that feeling? And ask for help with that feeling or that emotion if it's hindering you from acting however you need to be acting at that dramatic situation. So you can talk to your spirit guide out loud, or better yet, you can ask your spirit guide to read your mind or give them permission to read your mind for the rest of this lifetime, which makes it so much easier because then you can mentally think in your mind when you're in the middle of drama. You can mentally think in your mind, spirit guide, I need you to, whatever it is you want them to do. You can ask angels to help you, but be specific. Don't say, help me. Help you what? Be specific. What do you want the angels to do? Now, angels cannot read your mind. They can read what's the foremost thought, complete thought in your mind. but they can't read the dialogue that's going on. So it's best to give your spirit guide permission to read your mind mentally, and then they can relay any requests that you have to the angels. If you can't think at all, talk to a friend. If you're in the middle of a situation you can't talk to a friend, then grab the one thing you can do and breathe and act upon that one thing. So those suggestions are: number one, I suggest you ask your spirit guide, give your spirit guide permission to read your mind. And two, breathe, because it gives oxygen to your brain and helps you to figure out what to do next. If you've installed a code, then that helps a lot, because when you can't think clearly, at least you can get that phrase out. For me, it's code blue, and that helps a lot. At times I've been so overwhelmed, I can't get past the overwhelm. So when you can't do that, if you're not in the middle of the situation, to help alleviate those feelings and those emotions, walk through a garden, walk in the snow, walk in the forest, literally hug a tree, sit by the ocean. There's a diva or a spark of God, a shard of God in the ocean called Nether. If you don't believe that, that's fine. I can just tell you from personal experience, sitting by the ocean helps to alleviate a lot of feelings and take away a lot of negativity within you and without. So just sitting there, you don't even have to talk to Nether. Just sitting by the ocean will help. Taking a shower and asking the water to wash away all the negativity. You can feel so much better. Or a bath. Sometimes when I would be giving a talk at church, my vibration would drop and I could no longer think about what I was going to say next, even if I had notes in front of me. And I know that's because I can be empathic and pick up people's feelings. But sometimes I know there's one person who was jealous of me and was sending out that energy, and it would make my vibration drop and I couldn't think of anything. So what I started doing was making a pyramid. So in advance of this situation, which could become dramatic when I can't think of what to say in front of a whole audience, I would create a pyramid. So I would think, okay, who's someone who's going to be to my right when I talk in the audience? Who's going to be someone to my left? And me, we would make a pyramid, a triangle, which would go up into a pyramid. And I would choose someone who's a strong white light, who's a positive person, and I would draw on their energy and create a pyramid of positive energy, so that even if that person or anyone was sending out negative energy for some reason, that it wouldn't affect me, that it would be blocked. Later on, I learned about using the bubble of blue light, which white hot blue light is calmness, but white hot blue light neutralizes negativity, which is a wonderful thing. You're not sending back negativity to somebody, you're just neutralizing it and let it drop into neutral energy. So putting a blue bubble around me of blue flame just made my life so much easier. If I did that every day, then a lot of the negativity that came towards me, then that would just drop. And then my vibration wouldn't drop and I wouldn't be in dire straits of, I can't think. What was I going to say? So that's one thing you can use. The blue flame, and you can try using the pyramid if you would like. So this week I was driving to face a dramatic situation, a drama scene I knew was going to happen. So the night before, I knew there was going to be a possible confrontation and lots of emotion, and I was worrying about it and feeling anxious. So I asked the angels to enter my energy and sweep away my anxious thoughts. And then I was able to go to sleep. I had called a friend and asked her to pray for me, and I asked a prayer group to pray for the situation. Sometimes the best tools in a dramatic situation are spiritual lights because they're frequencies of energy that can change people's feelings, can change the tone of the situation. I've talked about spiritual lights before and God's rays, and you can check out those videos. But yesterday, as I drove to the situation I know was going to be dramatic, I needed to be calm. And I needed another person in my life's drama to be calm and a difficult person to act like a white light. So on the way, I asked angels to help me be calm, to calm the person who needed to be calm, and to make the difficult person act as positive as possible. And to use whatever rays or spiritual tools were available to help the situation, to please ask the angels to help in all ways possible. I was talking out loud, but I could have just mentally asked my spirit guide to help and ask the angels to enact whatever they could to help the situation. If you surround yourself with sky blue light, it's calming, tranquility comes to you. So if you're going to give a talk somewhere, you can ask to be surrounded by sky blue light. However, in some life circumstances, I've asked for these tools when the scene's already started, and that happened to me yesterday. Unbeknownst to me, the volcano of emotion had already exploded before I asked for the help. So when I entered the dramatic scene, then it was already emotional. It was already a volcano. So I could still ask for the blue light, the sky blue light. I could ask for purple light of correct thinking to be around the heads of the people who were having trouble thinking clearly and correctly thinking. However, when I asked for that, it didn't work so well because I did not realize that the one person in my drama had been drinking and another, I believe, had possibly been taking drugs. So the lights don't work as well. I could mentally put a mirror up in front of them so they are reflecting back what they're putting out, their words and their emotions and thoughts and feelings. However, I didn't want to escalate the situation anymore. So I tried to remain calm and not be drawn into the middle of the situation, even though they were immediately accusing me of things that were untrue, false accusations. So I calmly stated that they were false and stopped defending myself after that because what such a negative person does often is they know they're in the wrong in the situation. And instead of facing up to what they've done wrong, they accuse you of doing things that are wrong and deflect the energy and the attention away from them and their wrongdoings and toward you. So I tried to stay on the edge of the scene while I called people I needed to call to inform them about the escalating situation. For me, the main focus was to remain calm and try to think of the next step to calm the situation and the people. So I was constantly sending out sky blue light to be calm, to have the situation be calm. So, if possible, always ask your spirit guide and your angels to intervene if you know you're going to enter a dramatic situation. It's so helpful to allow your spirit guide to read your mind because then you don't have to say out loud, although you can whisper whatever help you want. You can mentally just think of the specific help you want, and the spirit guide and angels can enact that because the spirit guides can relay the information to the angels. You can't ask for too many angels. There's throngs of angels just waiting to help people. And when we are on earth, we need to give angels permission to help. And remember, they can't catch all of your thoughts. They can't, even if you give them permission, angels permission to read your thoughts, they're not allowed to. They can read the thought foremost in your mind if it's a complete thought, but not fleeting thoughts, not thoughts that are fully formed. So if they aren't fully formed, they can't figure out what you're thinking. So the funny thing is, all of this is because we were created to experience for God. Our Father God created us as little sparks of Him to experience different things. And dramatic things we could have written into our chart to begin with before we came to Earth, because we volunteered to come and we wrote a chart of the main things that were going to happen that we wanted to experience. But a lot of our experiences are the result of dominoes. You make a choice, and that changes a life path. And then other things happen because you've chosen that path. So when you decide to do something or not do something or react to something, that slightly changes your path, sometimes majorly changes your path. I talked about that last week where someone had chosen to invest all their money with Bernie Madoff, and that changed their life path so completely. So if they had chosen not to invest all their money with a Ponzi scheme, then their life would have been so much different. Well, since we're created to experience for God, then it's our choice how we react. And for me, when I'm in a dramatic situation, I just want to try and be as calm as possible and think of the best way to get through the situation without yelling and screaming, if possible, because that's not going to help the situation. What can I do to get through it, plow through it a lot of times, and figure out what to do next? What's the best logical step? Often the person you're interacting with is not going to be logical. And if they're flinging false accusations towards you, they're definitely not going to be logical because they don't want to be logical, truthful, factual, because that's not helping them. They're on their own little mission to create havoc for themselves and for others, and they're not concerned about doing the right thing. And not all people are like that. Sometimes you get irritated and angry and you just blow up, and sometimes it's righteous anger and go with it. Sometimes you need to just meet fire with fire, then do it. If you feel that that's what's needed, do it. If it's not needed, then figure out what you need to do to de-escalate the situation. What can you do to best get through the drama? Do you need to use spiritual lights? Do you need help doing something? If you need a spiritual person, a spirit on the other side, an angel, a spirit guide, a centurion that you call upon, then what do you want them to do? Do you want them to facilitate the situation? Do you want them to intervene in some way? Do you want the truth to come out? Do you want something to happen as soon as possible? And remember, when you make requests, there is no time on the other side. So if you request something to happen, you need to be time specific. You want it done now. You want it done as soon as possible. You want it done by next month. You want it done by next week. Sometimes that's not possible and the time will be off. But if you don't give a time, it could happen 17 years from now. So think about what you need in that situation and then ask for it. If you're having trouble thinking, then the first thing you would do is breathe. The second thing you would do is ask your spirit guide, to help you sweep away the thoughts that are keeping you from thinking, the loops of worry, the anxiousness, that you want your frame of mind to be such that you can function through this. Now, one thing you can do is ask for your emotion to be put to sleep and let your intellect take over. Because often your emotion just goes off whack when you're in a dramatic situation. And maybe you need to just step back and let your intellect think about what is the next thing I can do. And then later on, your emotion can come back. You can also, there's your collarbone right here. Energetically, you can tap your collarbone, K27. You can tap your collarbone, and that energy point, the end of the meridian, that energy point will help to reconnect you energetically, to help you to think better. It can help you stop crying. It can just help in small ways to help you get through the situation, whatever it is. Now, some dramatic situations are just like one and done, and some are ongoing. You need to decide what you need to do to help yourself get through it. And remember, you're creating a domino effect from here on. Also, you choose how to react to the situation. Often we blame other people for what's happened, but actually, it was our choices that made something happen further on. So, even though it's hard to believe that these experiences were created for us to experience, whether we originally chose them before we came into life, or they're the result of a domino effect, or what I consider even worse, which I know I do, is sometimes I ask for extra credit. My higher self, not my body, physical self, my higher self will ask for extra credit, like an extra experience to feed back to God and share with God, which is not fun when you're going through dramatic situations, but it's something that God can experience. And often for me, it seems to be a gigantic drama instead of a small drama. I don't know why I choose those things, but I seem to choose those things. It's often not simple. Not that it happens all the time, but I know I go through big drama. People accusing me of things and people like shoving me and scary people coming into my life. And anyway, you don't have to have all those things. So, number one, if you're in a dramatic situation, take a breath. Number two, think of asking for calmness, to be calm. If you can put two thoughts together, great. Then decide what to do next. If you can't put two thoughts together, then enact your code blue if you can do that, your phrase to enact all of the tools of protection, spiritual tools that you've chosen to have every day. Mentally, or whisper to your spirit guide about what help you want. Ask the angels through your spirit guide, or say out loud to the angels what help you want. And be specific. Don't just say, help me. Especially if you're talking to the angels, you have to be specific on what help you want, because they don't have permission to just like wipe away your chart, wipe away the experience. That's permission's not given. You have to decide what you want. What help do you want specifically? And ask for that. Whisper it, or talk to your spirit guide mentally and ask for that help, whatever it is. Often it's just calmness and thinking through the next thing that needs to be done. And if you can get help from your spirit guide and your angels, then ask for that. But you need to be clear thinking enough to figure out what to do next. And you can't do that if you can't put two thoughts together. Maybe you need to just tap your collarbone and then have your body, your physical body, calm down, your energy reconnect, and see what you can do next. So there's a few tools that you can use. You can always ask, one of my favorite things to do is ask for the angels to help in all ways possible. I've already made suggestions of spiritual colored lights and rays of God. And I always put the codicil. If this is not best for this situation, then don't give that person purple light around their head for correct thinking. If that's going to make the situation worse, don't give them one of the rays of God if that's going to make the situation worse. So often I will say, if for the greater good, then please do, and then my list. If it's not for the greater good, I don't want it to happen. I don't want the situation to become worse because of what I've asked for. So those are some things to think about. So I would think about, if you're not in a dramatic situation now, I would think about, okay, what would you want? Do you want to have a code blue, a phrase that you say that enacts all the spiritual things you want to take place for you personally during the day? Maybe you have a special code just for dramatic situations. Dramatic code, whatever it is you want to call it. Mainly, you need to decide what to do next if you're in the middle of a situation. So, previous to that, then make a plan. Okay, if I'm in a dramatic situation, I need to be calm and I need to think of the next thing to do. So, what would you do? What are the steps you would take? To me, I try to call a friend if I know about it beforehand and ask for them to pray for me. I asked for um, the mother goddess, because I believe there's a mother god and a father god. I asked for the mother goddess to invade someone's brain and to help them to think clearly and to act like a white light. So that was the difficult person that I knew was going to be in my situation, the one who started accusing me of all this stuff when they knew they were the ones who were in the wrong. And I just asked for some help from the mother goddess before I got into the situation. However, obviously, I didn't think about the situation of one person drinking and another person probably on drugs. So you just do the best you can and roll with the punches. What can you do next? Think of spiritual lights. What can you enact before you get into a dramatic situation? Try to stay calm, number one. Try not to be drawn into the drama because usually it's some person that's difficult that's trying to draw you in and keep you off kilter and deflect energy away from them and what is truly happening. So try to step back from the situation if you're in it. But if you're not in it, if you're just planning what you're going to do in the future, then think about, okay, what could I do? What would be a plan of action if I'm in a dramatic situation? So, thanks for listening. And hopefully, you'll join me next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Take What Rings True. If you want to watch the replays, you can watch them on YouTube at Take What Rings True. And you can also access them on Facebook, but you need to go to media and then to video and then go through the list. But you can get all of them on YouTube. Thanks. Bye. Thanks for joining me. Okay.